Thank you so much, Kelly, and thank you to Senator Loeffler for joining us today. I'll jump right in. Federal records show up to $3 million in stock sales in the weeks after a private coronavirus briefing. Both you and your husband, who runs the New York Stock Exchange, have said these were conducted by third-party advisors without your involvement. But who were these advisors, and what regular communication do you have with them?
Well, Kayla, thank you for having me on. I want to tell you that the third-party advisors are the same ones that many Americans rely on for their investment advice. I have no involvement in these decisions. I don't have conversations with them about any of this. And so this is a very third-party relationship that many people are familiar with.
Were these part of pre-planned scheduled stock sales, or were these individual investment decisions that were made by these advisors, given what was facing each of these 29 companies where you or your husband transacted in recent weeks?
These were completely discretionary trades at the decision of our investment managers. We had no involvement in them, and in fact, I don't find out about these trades until these reports are compiled at the end of the reporting period. So I had no knowledge of these companies, and in fact, it was a mix of buys and sells. And so I just want to set the record straight there that certainly I had no involvement, and will continue to have no involvement in these investment decisions. And I should note that I have 20 years of investment experience where I'm accustomed to managing through sensitive information, and I have always adhered to the letter and the spirit of the law, and I'll continue to do that.
You have a background in corporate America, Senator Loeffler, but you are the newest member of U.S. Congress. You are among the wealthiest members, and you're running for election this year. Why not hold off on these sales?
These are sales that I don't have discretion over. Our portfolios have been turned over to third-party investment managers that are making these decisions. They represent a very small fraction of the portfolio, and that's going to be normal course trading that you would have seen if you looked back to the portfolio a year ago. I mean, there's no pattern that we can mandate or dictate within these buys and sells, and so I would not have had discretion over those decisions.
Senator Loeffler, it's Kelly here back in studio. So just to clarify for the public, is it a coincidence that these holdings were sold on the same day that you had this briefing about the severity of coronavirus?
Well, I think that's an inaccurate characterization. This report reflects a period of time, and in fact, the only activity that I had individually was a purchase at the end of January. And so I think it's really important to set the facts straight here that there was not an outright sale. And in fact, if you look at many of the individual trades, they were quite bullish.
Were you privately more concerned about coronavirus following that briefing than you had publicly indicated by saying to people, look, even if it's a little bit worse than the flu, you're going to be fine?
No, I think all of us back in January, I think we were all very aware that there was an outbreak, but that we had very competent health officials, that the president was taking this very seriously, that the travel ban was important. I don't think it was until, a month, at the start of this month when we started to realize the severity of it. And I think that certainly should not be different than what other Americans have seen with the progression of this disease.
Can you understand why this looks so bad to the public, and that and allow that maybe we need to have more safeguards, more firewalls, more sales, maybe outright sales, especially for a family as well positioned as yours, so that these conflicts of interest, seemingly or otherwise, don't come up? And if it's in the case that that other senators directed sales and these were not done by managers, then what should the punishment for those actions be?
Well, I can only speak for myself in saying that I've been very, very careful throughout my entire career to adhere to the letter and the spirit of the law, have done so here, will continue to do. In fact, we'll continue to over-comply where needed. And also, I just say that, I think as you can look back across the activity that we've had, and it's no different from what we've reported in the past, but now it's out in the public, and I'm happy to answer all kinds of questions about it. That's why I'm here today, and am very confident that we have followed the letter and the spirit of the law.
Senator, you say that you weren't made aware of these transactions until February 16th. The market was near all-time highs at that time. Have you sold any stocks since then, and why?
I don't know. I'm not apprised until I see the reports that are filed. I don't direct the activity. I'm not involved in the investment decisions. I made that decision many years ago for the position I had in financial services, that I would not get involved in investment decisions, and so I don't direct or participate in the decisions made for any of our portfolios.
How would you describe your level of access to non-public information, though, whether it's these closed-door briefings or your many visits to the CDC in your home state of Georgia?
Well, I think it's low. I think, material non-public information is something I understand innately, having worked in financial services, and that's not something that we're involved with a lot, but to the extent that we are, we obviously cannot trade on it, and I would not, and am very aware of those requirements.
To avoid the optics of potentially the public connecting those dots between acquiring that information and making some of these transactions, do you think that Congress should be banned from dealing in individual stocks? And will you submit to an ethics review on these transactions?
Well, first of all, I'm happy to answer any and all questions and would submit to whatever review is needed. I think, we have to make sure that all the rules and laws are followed. I think they are being followed, at least in my case. I know they are. I can't speak for other people, but that's certainly what securities law is for. That's what ethics rules are for. That's what I'm very confident that we are complying with, have always complied with, and will continue to do.